Thank you for listening to Return to Roots Mil2Vet Resource Podcast, where we document our shared experiences, stories, and transitioning and reintegrating from the military to the community. For more information, go to mil2vet.com. If you have little ears, ensure you listen to the content before you allow them to listen. And if you are in crisis and homelessness, suicide ideations, or incarceration, dial 211 Courage to call for assistance. Now, stand by for the sound of freedom.
Return to Roots. Today, we speak with Mr. Marshall Morris from Indianapolis. He's joined with two of his wingmen, Kurt Jensen and Dondi Dix. Marshall's a Army veteran from the Panama and the Gulf War one time, where he did a little bit of time as a special operations team leader. He's got an impressive pro-service career that's really rich in the automotive and entertainment industries. At one point, he started up a medical spa, sold it after a few years, and moved over towards a company called AMP Entertainment. Did that for about a decade. And in 2019, he took a position as the Chief Marketing Officer for Help USA Veterans until 21, where he is currently the Chief Executive Officer of Dying Defiantly. Studied business and law at Stetson. He's active with charitable organizations and certainly not foreign to the microphone, getting with a crowd, talking up. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Marshall Morris.
Thank you guys for having me tonight. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Hey, man, tell us a little bit about your time in service, sir.
Oh my goodness. So, typical of all kids, I think they came up in the 80s. I wanted to believe that I wanted to be Rambo. And so not realizing that there was no such thing as a Rambo. But that's what I wanted to go in as. And so I remember my recruiting officer go, yeah, look, I can get you airborne and ranger schools, but you have to make them through it. I'm like, yeah, you get me the schools, I'll get through them. Right. And, I looked at my military careers this way, and I can't imagine to have out a timeout card these days. Right. I need a timeout, a stress card. Please give me a break. That's not, I don't think that's readiness to me, but hey, I remember my drill sergeants, smoking me, and things that were said probably wouldn't fly today, but I wouldn't trade it for the world, because it prepared me for what was going to happen and what I was going to see. And I wouldn't trade those days for anything in the world, man. From Northern Warfare training up in Black Rapid, Alaska, to operations down there in Just Cause when we got Noriega, to the first Gulf War, and operations in between that they probably don't allow us to talk about any, because we don't do false flag missions ever. So, but the military was a phenomenal place for me, and an opportunity to grow. I was an Eagle Scout coming up, so it kind of fit well with what I believed in. It was, as I talk all the time, I would die for this country, and I truly would believe that 100%. I will die for this country, and my oncologist tells me that I will die for this country. So I just forget that sometimes, but it's good, man. The military was a phenomenal opportunity to build camaraderie, friendships that have lasted, generations now. I am, a godfather to some wonderful kids that are now men, that, just continue to call me Uncle Marshall, but, I wouldn't trade it for the world. The military was amazing, gave me an opportunity to challenge myself, be challenged. I was talking to a gentleman today. I'm like, you don't know what it feels like until you watch a couple tracer rounds go by your head at 4 inches away, and you realize, yeah, there's 7 other rounds in between those tracers, and how close that really is to you, and how close to dying. I've seen friends taken out by sniper fire, and those are things you can't unforget, right? Those are things that you compartmentalize, you put away, and you never have to you don't go back to those things. There happens, combat's not a fun thing, but combat is sometimes a necessary thing.
We talk a lot about compartmentalization. That's big with aviation. You'll see the stuff like with special warfare operations or things like you're dealing with anything in combat. Do you think that as veterans, well, when we're in at the time, how much focus on that actually turns into detriment? Like when we get on the outside, our willingness as veterans to like actually want to accept the fact, hey man, it's okay to be hurt. Hey man, it's okay to have some difficulties. What do you say to, hey, while you were in, absolutely do it right, but you're getting out now. So how would you take that compartmentalization that we're trained to do and then focus it onto getting out to take care of us and our families on the backside?
So I got the opportunity to have a VES examination just a little over a week ago, last Monday, matter of fact. And I had this doctor of psychiatry talking to me about PTSD, and she had done 5,100 of these interviews, and she knew how to trigger me. And so she triggered me, and I didn't have a clue. And what I did is this. I looked out the window and I was looking at something, and I thought it was only like 10 seconds. I was gone for a minute. And she goes, "Where did you go?" And I said, typical of all of us, I said, "Always looking at a car going by," right? We make up a story, and because we don't want anybody to know. So she says that a lot of us that have been in combat, especially special operators, have this different type of PTSD that we use, and she calls it with an adjustment disorder. It's like we know what to do. We know we're hyper vigilant. We're always on top of things. It's what makes us such successful businessmen. It's what makes us very successful on the outside. But it also is something that we don't share, right? Because, hey, as soldiers, as men, we don't ever want to talk about weaknesses, right? We never want to show weakness. And so to me, what I tell people is this: look, man, this is not weakness. This is an opportunity to you to deal with scars, issues, damage left behind that maybe is a wound that never healed, right? That we maybe just brushed into a file cabinet somewhere and never really got taken care of. So what I've been able to do with mine is I compartmentalize. I actually am really good at going to that file cabinet, pulling out the files in between the ones I don't want to touch, and get good at doing that. And so it's allowed me to have some success. It's allowed me to be out here in the real world where people don't have the same level of maybe awareness, right? They don't always, like, if you're like me, you go into a restaurant and you probably know all the exits, you don't like your back exposed. You always have exactly, right? And so, I tell people, like, there's nothing wrong with that. I always justified it to my friends as I'm a protector by nature, right? And I'm going to protect. I'm the one that walks closest to the road if we're all on the sidewalk. I'm the one that's going to be protecting my friends. I'm the one that stands up in a bar situation first to step down, to stand somebody down. It's just being aware, and so it's not a problem. Like, at first I was afraid of being, having a tag put on me when she said that, right? Like, "Oh, you have PTSD." And I'm like, okay. And it's like, it's not a bad thing. Matter of fact, it's our choice on how we let things affect us, either positively or negatively, right? We make those choices. Nobody else does. And so when you say that, and you say you have PTSD, okay, how can I make this a positive, right? Yes. Okay, there are some true effects that can affect us in a way of life, but we can really have a high quality of life if we just cope with it in a positive manner, and we just deal with it that way. And so that's what I do, and it's helped me with my terminal diagnosis as well. I mean, when it came, it instantly, in an instant, I knew that, hey, it's my choice on how I let this affect me, either positively or negatively. It's my choice. Nobody's going to tell me I can't. So, when they said that to me, I was like, okay, it is what it is. It's like, now I know what the enemy is. Okay. Now I know how to deal with it. Let's just plan how to deal with it. We put a action plan in place. We look at the mission plan. We put everything objective in there. And do we achieve the objective? Fantastic, right? Which they told me I wasn't going to live past July of 22. Here I am talking to you gentlemen tonight, right? And in a function that's at a level that I would never think I would function at. Because of pain, they want me taking 30 milligrams of morphine a day. And then every 3 hours on top of that, they want me taking 15 milligrams of oxycodone. I'm like, we wouldn't be able to have this conversation. I'd be sitting in the chair with my tongue out. And so, guys, I mean, there's nothing that we can't handle. And it's just a mindset, right? It's a strong mind. And then when you have the community like this, you have individuals that will wrap their arms around you and help you. That it's no different than when you're going through basic training. You're on the obstacle course, and that you're only as strong as your weakest link. And you can run past that person, or you can stop and you can pick them up. You can help them get them over the log. You can help them do the low crawl, whatever you need them to do, because what's going to happen. They're just going to have to go do the obstacle course again if you let one fall back. And so, to me, it's a game, right? It's, we know what the drill sergeants are going to do. You never leave a man behind. It's just not who we are. It's not what we do. U.S. military is the strongest about that. They believe in this, unless, obviously it's Afghanistan. But I mean, God forbid, but that wasn't the military's fault. That was our, commander in chief at the time. Very disappointing moment, but, to me, there's no better thing than having, a soldier there with you that knows what you're going through, that knows what you're facing, that's come out and has seen some level of success and is there to help support you when you get out. And so that's what I'm here for.
Some things that you really talked about with the compartmentalization, how you're able to, whenever you're having a conversation, you open up the file and you pull out the things that you want to talk about. And one thing that we all do, think of our bodies like a Navy vessel. And I know I'm picking the Navy. We're all a ship that float in this cosmos, this life that we're all in, right? And we have traumatic experiences. Now, we as service members probably will get more traumatic experiences, but there's other people out there that get them as well. Well, what do you do with a space of a ship that you can't do anything with? You seal it up, right? You fill it up, seal it up, right? So every time you get hurt, every time you re-expose yourself to your triggers and stuff like that, you're closing up another compartment inside your ship. Eventually, your ship is going to sink if you don't start doing some deflooding, right, Nuccio? You love that deflooding. I honestly think that if you're not talking to somebody about your stuff, somebody that's confident, someone that that you could literally tell them anything and they're not going to repeat it. And there's so many resources out there to do that while you're in. But that whole entire mindset of, oh, I'm considered weak if I take care of my mental health. It's just like going to the gym for physical fitness. You got to do that for your mental toughness. And you got to learn those tools and tricks that those people know how to do, because they are trained experts at helping you decompartmentalize your stuff. It's not going to get rid of it. Your triggers are still going to happen, but you're going to know when you're triggered and you're going to know how to go against it. So I just wanted to point that out, man.
No, it's a phenomenal, what you're talking about is true. I mean, one of the things that I do a lot of now as I'm talking with the charity, I talk to about 45 to 60 individuals a week that are facing terminal illnesses. And so these are mostly veterans, some civilians that obviously this is a traumatic experience. And so I use a lot of neuro-linguistic programming when I'm talking to these individuals. And so, obviously That's a big Tony Robbins thing. Tony Robbins was big on neuro-linguistic programming, taking people's belief systems that are negative and putting in place a positive, getting rid of the negative and putting a positive belief system back in place. So what I like to try to do is take these negative files that people have and convince them to change that file to a positive file, right? Let's look at that file. Let's talk about that file. Let's go ahead and get past that file and say, what's beyond that? What was before that, right? Who you were before the situation? Who were you before your terminal diagnosis? Because, yeah, it sucks. Nobody wants to have a terminal diagnosis. No one wants to be facing death, but we're all facing death, right? From the moment we're born, we start dying. So we just don't put our own mortality right in front of our faces. We don't really look at it. Matter of fact, some of us start believing that we're kind of superhuman, and especially if you've been in combat and you've been in some situations where maybe you shouldn't have been, left alive, but you are. And so when that happens, it gives you almost I don't want to say godlike, but a superhero kind of image, right? Like, I walked away from the military. Man, I had Humvees flip over on top of me. I had parachute not open, had burned in the ground, pulling my reserve. I mean, I've had all kinds of situations happen and walked away without a broken bone ever. Like, I've never broke a bone in my life. Knock on some wood here, right? But I mean, I'm like just saying that at one point, 2 months before I got diagnosed in July of 21, I was bragging to my friends. I'm like, yeah, dude, I feel like a superhero, right? I was bodybuilding. I'm 270. I'm a beast. And I've never had a broken bone. God has a funny way of reminding you that you're human. And so 2 months later, stage 4 cholangiocarcinoma, bile duct cancer, inoperable, incurable, and was given 9 to 12 months to live. And I was like, okay, thanks, God, for reminding me that I'm still human. What can we do to make this the best, 9 to 12 months? And then 8 days after I got diagnosed, we started dying defiantly, because it was about more than me. It wasn't about me. I wanted to make sure that we helped everybody that we possibly could, that we helped touch as many veterans, as many military that are going through this programs that don't have anybody, that don't have a positive mental attitude. I've had not one sad day since I got diagnosed. Not one day when I've said, oh, woe is me, this sucks. Not one day ever that I felt like I can't handle this, And
Can you talk a little bit about like the whole no sad day ideology? I mean, because in taking a look at that, what you're saying now, it's clear that your mental and physical attitude is very winning. And no sad day, I've not had one sad day, but talk a little bit about no sad day and what that means, what it stands for.
So what no sad day means is this. That means that no matter what you do, no matter how bad things are in your life, I don't care if it's a terminal diagnosis, I don't care if it's a breakup of a relationship, I don't care what's going on in your life, you alone choose happiness or despair. It's your choice, right? Nobody else is going to make that choice for you. I'm a big believer that, life is like a heartbeat. It's a series of ups and downs, peaks and valleys, right? And what we do in our high points will ultimately define how long we stay up and how low we go into our next valley. And what we do in our valleys will define how high our next peak is and how low we go. So the matter is to continue always making the peaks higher and the valleys not so deep, so you never go down. It's always an uphill climb, right? And so to me, if I can maybe just help influence people a little bit on facing that, man, no matter what's going on, I don't care what it is. I remember sitting in a car with 3 other people, my fiance and 2 friends, when the doctor called to give me the results of this, of my first scan, right? The biopsy and everything. And we're driving, and we were on our way to New York City. We're just outside of New York City, and I'll never forget it. Doc calls, says it. I had it on speakerphone, and I'm like, "Hey, just tell me like it is, Doc. I'm not all sunshine and rainbows. So just tell me what it is. Let's, I don't need unicorns right now. I just want to hear it." And Doc's like, "Okay, well, yeah, it's stage 4 cholangiocarcinoma. Projected life on this is maybe 9 to 12 months at best. Maybe if we do some stuff, maybe 15 months." And I was like, "Okay, fantastic." And like everybody in the car is like in awe, and it just like, did you just hear what he said? And I'm like, yeah, And Doc's like, did you just hear what I said? I go, yeah, Doc, it is what it is. Right.
But you
And
were
he's
like
like,
to terms with it instantly.
and that's a God thing, right? I believe that. I think that, look, what are you going to do? Get mad about it? That's not going to accomplish anything positive, right? So what it's done for me is I've let whatever pain that will cause be my fuel to be the positivity that takes me to the next level, right? Because there's an engine inside every one of us, right? And that engine needs fuel, and that's the engine, that motivates us. It keeps us going. It drives us to be something bigger than ourselves. It's what takes Olympic athletes to the next level. It's what takes any kind of athlete to the next level. It's what takes a soldier to the next level. I mean, when you're facing certain death, right, and it's going to happen, right, and you do it with courage and strength and dignity. I mean, one of the greatest stories I love of U.S. history is the Alamo, right? And to think Davy Crockett and all those other men, they knew they were going to die. They knew, and they decided that it was more important for them to do something bigger than themselves than to run away from it. Davy Crockett was offered the opportunity to leave. He didn't have to be there. He chose to be there. So it's a choice. And that's what I tell people every day, man. You have the choice right now to be the biggest influence in your friends and family's lives. And it's how you let this affect you. It's how you let them, how you handle this is what they're going to remember. If you're the most miserable person, that's what they're going to remember is their dad died miserably or mom died miserably. But if you did it with courage and strength, and you got up every day and you went to the table with them and you asked them about their day and you talked to your loved one or your caregiver and reminded them that they're still important to you. Because let me tell you, what changes is your priorities. So for men, we're very physical creatures, right? We enjoy a certain level of physical contact. Well, that becomes one of the last things that you're thinking about when you're facing this. And so your caregiver, your mate, at that point starts to feel, separation, right? So you start seeing some separation anxiety. Caregivers go through a lot of turmoil. They feel like they're not loved anymore. So this is an opportunity for you to remember that everybody's being affected, right? Not just you. Because so many of these people tell me, Marshall, I'm losing my family. I'm losing my soulmate. I'm losing my job. I can't take care of my family anymore. I'm losing everything that ever mattered to me. And I'm like, yeah. I said, I understand. I get it. I said, but did you ever think they are too? They're losing a father. They're losing their soulmate. They're losing their best friends. They're losing their hero, right? So, but they can't show it to you right now. They can't. They're trying to be strong for you because of what you're facing. So how you give that back to me was a no-brainer. In an instant, I knew that I was not going to have a sad day, that never was I ever going to let anybody realize that all I cared about was being a better person each and every day, to be of service to others before I leave. My daughter called me crazy. She goes, who does that? And I go, well, she goes, but my dad does. And I said, well, that's being a good soldier, right? That's realizing that, man, I love, to me, Captain America is one of my favorite superheroes. Why? Because when he was little and they did that, he's in basic training, they threw that grenade down. The big guys didn't jump on it. He did, right? He put himself at risk, even when everybody else was afraid and to get behind and thought of themselves. He put everybody else's needs in front of his own. And so to me, that's what I am, and that's what I want to be.
I like how you were talking about in your darkest moment, something came out of it. It's just like life, right? Life gives you hardship. Are you going to let it crumple you, or are you going to let it form the diamond that God has given you? You know what I'm saying? So these hardships form diamonds, just like real diamonds are formed in intense pressure and intense heat. Hardship creates that stuff. And that's how this Return to Roots, Return to Roots Mil2Vet was formed out of hardship of getting out through the medical board process that I shared with you earlier, and not being a part of the problem. I hate naysayers. I hate people that don't get out there and just say, you know what? Hey, I I don't like this. I hate it when people say I don't like this, and I'm just going to add to the problem by not figuring out the solution. Be a solution, man. That's what we're taught to do. We there's here shortly. There's going to be a whole bunch of new chief petty officers in the Navy. I'm not sure if you know anything special about the Navy E7 process, but we don't have E7s. We have chief petty officers and above, right? And they're formed through this process that kind of gets them to be a little humble again. It brings it back. Be humble. And the hardship that you go through humbles you. And then you're able to create something better than you ever thought possible. And that's what you did with dying defiantly. That's awesome.
It has been a sounding board for me. I had a friend the other day tell me, he goes, it's amazing what you've done with your ministry. And I'm like, ministry? And I never thought of it like that, right? I'm like, my ministry, okay? Because I'm not one to push people to religion. Like I'm not gonna shove religion down your throat. And he goes, Marshall, what you do is you bring people to God. And I go, I do? He goes, man, you do it in your actions. You do it in everything that you say and do. He says, you're not one of these people that has to run out on TikTok and show everybody what you're doing and it's a positive, right? You're not taking a video of you giving, $100 or $1,000 to this homeless person, or you're running and getting food or anything of that nature. I'm like, no, it's never been about that. No, it's about doing the job, right? It's about being there. It's about lifting somebody up in their darkest moments. It's being their light until they can be their own. It's being the ears that listen when nobody is listening. It's the voice of reason when it doesn't seem to be reasons. And, when you can do that for somebody, when you can show up, right, and be something that they need at that moment, the hand that lifts them back up, man, when they give back and they pick somebody else up and it becomes a chain and then it continues to go. This is where our peer-to-peer counseling comes in, right? That we got soldiers taking care of soldiers, that they're leading them through this battle that they have already been a part of. They've already seen this battle. They know the journey. They know what's ahead of them. And they guide that person up that mountain. And then when they die off, they hand that baton to the next one, and the next one picks his buddy up and he carries him. And it's just amazing. When we realize the transition program that we do, coming in, and this all started because one of my friends, she's a first sergeant in the Air Force. She reaches out to me from the First Sergeant Academy she works at, and she's like, Marshall, I need some help. And so this is where the transition program came in. She had a couple airmen that were diagnosed with terminal illnesses, and they weren't going to get service connectivity. And she had no idea how to help them transition from military to civilian life with obviously no opportunity for job, right? Because you're coming out with a terminal illness. You're going to be facing who knows how well you're going to be at that moment, because a terminal diagnosis means that you have 12 months or less to live. And so when that happened, I was like, we got to do something. And so I got a hold of the local American Legions and where they're going to be going back to their home states. I got in touch with the VFW. The two groups, two of these people had kids. I got with Folds of Honor, talked to them about, getting their kids into the scholarship program once their parent passes away, what they need to do, how that's going to look. I got with caregivers and cocktails and made sure there's support for the caregiver during this whole time period. So when they get out, we're right there to make sure that as they've transitioned, they're already applying for their benefits, trying to get benefits into whatever they can get. Obviously, they're going to have a copay with the VA, right? And so that's one of the big things that we tried to do, and to make sure we were there and we were standing up for the military transitioning out, which is what this is all about for you guys. I mean, yes, obviously they're transitioning for a different reason, but there's more than most people realize in the service. And service connectivity is, unless you've been in, under the PAC Act or something like that, it's very hard to get them to say that, oh yeah, it's service connected, you know. But I would tell any soldier this: keep track of every time you've gone to the meds, right? The medics, you go to the clinic or whatever, because if you keep track of that, that is going to be your service connectivity coming out, right? That's if you went into the service with no issues, and let's say you went in playing soccer at PT and you hurt your ankle. Well, make sure you document that, right? Just a date, a time and a date, because that's what's going to help you get your benefits later on. We may not think it's an issue now, but what if that turns your ankle so badly that it maybe altered the way you walk, right? We may not notice it when we're young, but as surely as we get old, we start to see issues. Guys that did a ton of parachuting, naval guys. I mean, there's so many situations out there that you guys are dealing with. Tinnitus, right, is another big thing that most guys don't recognize until they get out and it's too late, right? That's the ringing in the ears that we all get from being around loud guns or things of that fire. So there's so many ways that we try to help the guys recognize. And us veterans, man, we're the worst at trying to go back and ask for anything, right? We don't, hey, the VAs for the guys that are missing a leg or, an arm or, something else, right? Like, I mean, it was the hardest thing for me to go to the VA and accept any help, because I was like, I don't want to take that bed from somebody that needs it. And they're like, Marshall, you need this bed right now. I've been in septic shock 3 different times and come out of it each time. And every time I'm like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to take the bed too long from somebody. And they're like, what is wrong with you, dude? I'm like, look, I wanted to make sure that it's there for somebody else. And, brother, that's all I can say. It's just, I understand completely.
It's not just an easy process filing your disability either. It takes a while, and if you don't know how to process your own VA claim, then you have to go to a third party, which I recommend everybody look up VSOs. If you're paying for it, you're doing it wrong, and you probably
exactly
predatory. So do your research. The DAV, contact the VFW, American Legion. They're going to be able to help you out. Google VSOs in your local area, but have somebody that's going to help you understand what you're actually going in to see the doctors for. There's things called the DBQs that you need to learn how to read, but the CFR there's a lot of things into it. So you need coaching during these things. How do you guys help the service members that are transitioning out find those kind of resources?
So what we do, of course, American Legion International is huge, 14,000 posts nationwide. VFW, 13,000 something posts. So usually those are our great advocates. So we go to those guys, we find the closest one in their region where they're going to end up at, and we connect them to them quickly, Bill, because this is, it's a time thing, right? Now, the cool thing about a terminal, well, I wouldn't say cool, but of course you're processed a lot quicker with a terminal illness, obviously, than you will be if you're not. So, and I tell people, look, man, because you get a lot of these guys that say, Marshall, man, I ain't going to see that shit before I'm dead. I'm like, yeah, I know, I get it, but maybe your family will, right? So if it doesn't help you right now, it could help your family going forward. And so
am I understanding you correctly? You're saying that if you've got the thing terminal, you actually got an express lane for those guys, pretty much.
Oh, yes.
Oh, that's excellent information, because you know what, man, I never even heard of that. That's pretty unfortunate, but it's fortunate for the survivors.
Yeah. So you'll look under like VA form 21526 EZ, right? And one of the questions they ask you, are you terminally ill? And why they ask that question now is because there is now a fast track for your everything. And what they want to do once you say terminally ill, they try to get with you within 3 weeks. Like they'll get their first appointment within 3 weeks. So it is, I mean, it's quick. And I just did that. Like I just now filed for benefits like a month ago. And that's why a week ago I had my first VES. And people were like, why did you wait so long? And I'm like, you know what, brother? I'm like, I wanted to take care of others. It's not about me. And people were like, you deserve this though. And I'm like, all right, so I'll file the forms, I'll go through the rigmarole, but you know, I've got other things to do. I've got counseling sessions to do. I've got other things to, I just ain't got to like, people are like, yeah, but you're dying. I'm like, yeah, I ain't got time to die. I got too much work to do. Right. I mean, and that's what it comes down to. I don't have time to die right now. I'll do the dying when the dying comes. I'm just right now, until that point, we got too much work to do. And, having a goal of helping 36,000 people next year, and that's a goal that is huge. It's a goal that I want to accomplish. I've done almost 13,000 people in 2 years. I know we can make that happen with the likes of Dondi and Kurt Jensen and the other amazing members that are on the advisory council. And did I tell you what? There's no better gift to give back to your fellow soldiers than the gift of love, the gift of support, the gift of just being there, right? To have their back, in a non-combat situation, right? And because this to them is combat. They're fighting for their lives, bro. So, I mean,
I like it, man.
This is what
Big audacious goals. That's awesome, dude. I love it, man. Those big goals are going to help you push further. You're like, nah, man, I got a little bit more to go. And that's how you got to keep yourself motivated. Is you got to just have that thing to shoot to. When you're hitting the range, bro, you're not just shooting wildly. I mean, it depends what gun, but
true.
I mean, you give me a MAC-10, I'm going to go play around with it. I get it. Okay. All right. But you usually have a target to shoot to. So that's awesome, man, that your goal is so huge, man, because that's what we need in our lives, man. And a lot of us don't set big, audacious goals, and we come short from nothing even that's great, because audacious is like all the way up there. I mean, if you shoot just a little shy, that's something great. And it's the enemy of great is, right? Good.
No. The enemy of great is good. I like
Good.
that.
You know what I mean?
I like that.
One of the things that is frustrating, I would say, for a lot of, you take the career military, you've been in a certain mindset for so long. Maybe it's even just 10 years, maybe it's 5, whatever it is that somebody gave everything. But when you start creeping up into that 23, 25, these guys that push up for the full 30, they've got more time in service. You're well over half your life, so you've been, and you're definitely your entire adulthood, so difficulty in communication is often a big thing. So for instance, it sounds like it's clear you embrace serenity, and I think that's pretty remarkable. So you take that, combine it with ability to convey the message. So I was listening to one of the other podcasts, and it's where you had opened up and you really drilled down on the whole thing with your diagnosis of cancer, and you hit it right on the head with convey the message right so they can understand. You were talking about 223 rounds, or you can use the 7.62 in order to get the point across. And I was wondering maybe if you could expand a little bit more on the importance of speaking the language.
Yeah, and that all came from, I was listening to, one of the things I do when if I'm in the hospital, and especially in the cancer center, is I try to listen in to how doctors talk to the patient, right? And so a lot of these doctors will come in like, yeah, we're going to do a complement of chemo using Gen, Cis, they go into the old cisplatin or Folfox, and they're ringing off all these drug names. And most people are like, And veterans, we're not really going to ask like we don't know. We're just going to go with whatever the doctor says. It's like, yeah, okay, that sounds great. But they don't know. So I said to my doctor, I said, guys, wouldn't it make more sense to explain to these old soldiers that, hey, this gen is a maintenance drug. It's basically a 223 round. It's really not going to do a lot to the thing, but it's going to give you cover fire, right? It's going to give you some cover fire. It's going to allow you to move. But this round here, this is a 50 caliber, armor piercing round. This is going to break through the outer core of that cancer and get into the inner core of that cancer and actually do the damage that it needs to do, right? And so they were looking at me like, I never thought about it like that. And I was like, guys, these old guys don't have a clue. Hell, I don't even know how, I do a lot of research. And so when people start saying stuff, I'm already on board doing my research. So I know what they're talking about. And then I started talking to them about becoming one with the stop talking at the patient and start talking to the patients, right? At IU medical school is tied to our VA Rutabush here in Indianapolis. So I get, every time I go, a bunch of students that come in as well with the doctors, and they are all got they got their notebooks up and they're looking at it, and they don't even look at you as a person. And I got the greatest compliment I could have ever gotten, because what I did with these kids is I told them that the moment they walk in that door, that's when the doctoring begins. Put the books down, don't look at charts, come in and you say, good morning, Mr. Morris, or good morning, Marshal. How are you doing today? How can I be of service to you? What can we do to make you heal today? Right? And let that patient open up to what's really going on inside of them, right? For them to say, Marshal, what's your pain level today on a scale of 1 to 10? Well, shit, my pain level, I have a pretty high tolerance to pain. I can tell you this, Doc, it feels like somebody's taking a shiv into my side, shoving it in my liver and twisting it around. But it's a 2, right? That's a 2 for me. I can handle it. And they're like, I said, or the itching is so bad today, it feels like 2,000 little spiders are under my skin trying to get out. And so that's the stuff I deal with on a common daily basis. And people were like, what? So I told them to go watch a movie called Patch Adams. We all probably remember Robin Williams and Patch Adams. And I said, this is an opportunity where you treat the patient, not the disease. That you're treating them as a human, that it's like, oh, Mr. Morris has, stage 4 cholangiocarcinoma, it's intraheptic, it's wrapped around his portal vein. They're going into all their scientific jargon, and they're not talking to the soldiers on a basis. Like I get up when I'm in there and I walk around to the other rooms, and I'll knock on the door. I'm like, hey, what you in for? They look at me like, I got cancer. I'm like, yeah, me too. Right? We're in prison together. So,
oh man, the charge nurse has probably got to love that. Get back in your bed.
That's what they say all the time. And I'm usually going out, talk for a little while, and I'll make them laugh and just get them feeling good about what they're doing there. Like, look, man, hey, yeah, it sucks. No one ever wants to be in the hospital, but hey, you know what? We're here. We might as well make the most of it. Right? Are you ordering ice cream? I'm ordering ice cream tonight. And, so you just joke with them. Right. And, usually I leave people smiling and feeling better than I did, before I walked in that room. And that's what it's all about.
So before everything had happened, or diagnosed, one of the things that you were looking, you had you had a lot of irons in the fire, man. Cars, dealerships, got that. You started a spa, hit that up, moved on to Amp Entertainment. Is it just you've never been able to sit down, couldn't sit still? What's up?
So always been entrepreneurial spirit, right? My mindset is, man, I can talk to you about my very first own company, go all the way back to just first coming out of the military, back before the internet ever happened. We still had bulletin boards, if you remember those, DOS-based bulletin boards, right? Back in the day. I started a company called Advanced Casting Technologies. Act Inc. What we did, we were down in, I was doing security at Universal Studios when I first came out, going to school. And so here I was bodyguarding people when they came in. I got a chance to meet Michael Jackson, bodyguard the kids from 90210 back then, Gilbert Gottfried or Rhonda Shears from USA Up All Night. I mean, Salt and Pepper, you name it. People came in. I got to walk them around the park and keep them safe. And I was a pretty big boy back then. I used to, I was always lifting. So it kind of just fit really well with me. Well, one thing leads to another. I'm like, man, you know what? What if we could create this business where you put people's headshots into a digital space, and casting directors could go there and put in a search string and say, hey, I need a brunette, 30-year-old male with blue eyes, this kind of build. And they could draw, they get a list of different headshots. They could download them, and they could see a black and white printed out headshot on their dot matrix printers back then, right? And so that was my initial first business that I ever created. I sold it to offices, a couple of friends of mine that were partners that weren't doing anything, typical business, one person's doing all the work and people are just wanting you to do it all. And I just said, look, guys, I can't do this. If you want the business here, take it, buy it from me. So they bought it from me for like the $20,000 I had invested in it. And 6 months later, they got bought up by a California company that's still in business today for like $247,000 or something like that, $250,000 back then. And I was like, are you kidding me? Seriously? I'm like, but fast forward it, and I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit. So was part of the car industry. I been part owners of dealerships, and people always come to me and say, Marshall, you're a great marketing guy. I've got this band that's on Toby Keith's label right now that he basically shelved them. And when you shelve a band, that's basically saying, we're not going to do anything with you. You're basically going to be there. You're going to do nothing. And this is all because they were on tour with Toby Keith. And it was back when Blake Shelton and Miranda Lambert were still together and kind of dating, not married yet. And the lead singer had got caught with Miranda on the bus. And Blake said, it's either them or me, right? And so obviously they went with Blake instead of Flynnville Train. And so Flynnville Train, I ended up buying their music back from Toby Keith. Well, Toby wanted some stupid amount of money, right? Like $500,000 for their music. And he had just come out with the $600 million man, right? That he was worth $600 million. And it was this big article. And so I ended up in this meeting with Toby and his attorneys and me and my attorney. And I said, Toby, $600 million man. I remember the $6 million man when I was a kid, Lee Majors. And he's like, yeah, that's pretty amazing, huh? I said, you must need some tax write-offs. He's like, heck yeah. I said, why don't you sell this to me at 10% its value, right? And write the rest off as a bad debt. And he was like, that's a great idea. He loved the guys anyways, right? So that's what we did. And so next thing I know, I have a band. And then I was like, okay, what are we going to do with this? Right? So I started buying up internet radio stations to get record play, right? Because it's pay to play these days. So that means you have to pay to be on the radio. And so my producer was Richard Young from the Kentucky Headhunters, 8-time Grammy Award winning artist, taught me the business inside and out. And I was doing this as I was running my other businesses. I owned AMP Marketing at the same time. AMP Marketing was doing event sales all over the country for the automotive industry. And I'd send out a team of salespeople and to a dealership, and we would sell cars for the week for them, and we'd take a portion of the proceeds, right? And so if you could imagine taking used car salesmen and combining that with a carny, that's what I was managing, right? So because all these guys had issues. Either they were running from child support, they were, and you're trying to be everybody's big brother. You're trying to help everybody get their life back together and make money in the meantime. And so it was very lucrative. We made a lot of money. At one time I had 5 teams running. I was doing the business. So I was making this money, and I had Blessed Union of Souls as well on the record label. I had a girl out of Barbados named Melissa Lana, and 3 was more than enough. And so what I did is Ball State has a program up here in Indiana. That's where David Letterman came from, and they were looking for a way to get college credits. So I opened up internships that gave them college credits and let them run the whole program for myself. Right. I'd go and do some things. In 2015, we won the French Highway Awards over in France, beating out Toby Keith, beating out some other big name country stars. I got to tour with Toby Keith, with Vince Gill, Leanne Rimes, and Gretchen Wilson. So that was fun over in Europe. Got to see a lot of neat things. And then, businesses were fun, right? Got into the medical spa industry and started the U Renewed medical spas. And what we did is Botox, fillers, hormones, things that are just money makers, right? And, once that became successful, I sold that off. And then I started modern rejuvenation centers as well. And then sold that to my partners. And then, so I keep myself going and active. And so I never stop. And then, so the record label is still in play, right? I own Nashville Radio Now. I own a bunch of, country music online. I own a bunch of different, radio stations that all run by kids at college. So getting credit, doing that, and keeps the revenue stream going, which allows me to let 100% of my Social Security payment that comes in every month go to the charity to help fund, right? So that goes right to the charity to help funds. I don't owe a dime to anybody. All my properties are paid for. I have rental properties that I was very fortunate enough to buy up while I was making money. And it's where the whole thing of sometimes it takes money to make money. And so obviously I learned that lesson pretty quickly. You can have the greatest ideas in the world, but if you don't have the money to do those ideas, you're going to just spin your wheels. So I tell anybody, like, look, if you've got a great idea, that's fantastic. Figure out your funding sources, right? That's the key. You've got to figure out where's the funding is going to come from. What are you willing to give to get that funding, right? It's a Shark Tank mentality, right? You're going to have to give to get. And so, because a lot of these guys coming out, they have great ideas, right? They just don't have the money behind them to get these ideas put into action. So, it's just sometimes it's a tough go, and you just got to make sure you get the right people around you. Somebody doesn't steal your idea.
You speaking like the whole have the right people with you. You got a couple people joining with you today. I was wondering maybe if you could do a quick little intro, man. You surround yourself with winners and people that want the best for you. And it seems like with Kurt and Dondi, what they got here, I'd certainly like to hear a little bit about what they do with you.
Yeah, I was very blessed, to have, Kurt to be a friend for years, right? We've worked on other projects together, but, Kurt Jensen, very, very strong individual when it comes to, I would say, faith, collaboration, his care for the whole veteran field, right? The guy's just, has a heart to serve. And, not to mention he's a good Christian, right? He's a deeply faith-based. So when you find individuals that are evenly yoked, right, and you want to embrace them, it was basically God just showed up one day and put the right catalyst in place that just made it happen. So, he's now my executive director, and heads up the advisory council, and sometimes keeps me grounded or reminds me that, hey, I can't do this whole thing alone, right? Because sometimes I think I can, but I can't. And then you got individuals like Dondi that, gosh, man, what can you say about the expertise that comes from an individual like that coming into the organization and just embracing and wrapping their arms around you and showing this, I'm going to show you who I am by what I'm going to do. And this just, I'm blessed because I never thought that, there are other operators out there like me, right? You think that sometimes you're alone in this and you're not. And it's people like this that remind me every day of who they are. So without further ado, Mr. Kurt Jensen.
Oh man, I can't live up to that. Go to Dondi. Messing. Anyway, listen, this guy's the real deal. July 6th, 2023. Never forget it, Marshall. A date that will live in infamy. Called Marshall, had a great conversation, and God's like, yep, that's what you're going to do. I'm like, cool. And so now everything that I have been blessed with over about a 25-year sales and marketing career, I get to point at raising money for people before they die. Yeah, that's a terrible cause to get behind. So, we had it's Marshall and I want to move faster than life will allow sometimes, and he'll admit that, right? There's no tomorrow promised by anyone. So we're looking for money right now to we're raising $10,000 because we are going to the Celebrity Softball Classic November 4th in Frisco, Texas. And myself, Marshall, Dondi, other advisory council members, 50 terminally ill people. All of us are going to go out there and enjoy an amazing event. And if Marshall can learn how to hit a softball, which I still don't believe he can do it, but if he can do it, then they're going to let him on the field, which is going to be amazing. He's going to get to speak in front of 10,000 people and thank everybody. It's going to be an amazing weekend. So that's our first fundraising thing. So the first person who wants to drop $10,000 at dyingdefiantly.org, what do we give them? We'll give them something good, that's for sure. They can be in the suite with us 100%. But yes, this is awesome. It's so funny. Marshall had to light me on fire the other day, and it was great because, Marshall's not asking for money for himself, and I'm not asking money for myself. I'm asking, for people to step up and help a group of people that is just a crazy amount of people every day that have to deal with a terminal illness and the caretakers, and the families afterwards. I mean, I don't want anyone to feel sorry for me, but I know this is a God thing. I've lost 14 people in the last 5 years. And then, I'm talking to Mr. Marshall, and he's terminal, and I'm going to work with him till the day he dies. That's just the way it's going to be. So if I hadn't lost those 14 people in 5 years, I would have probably hung up on them, right? Like, no, I'm out. But my mom's in hospice right now. And so, you know what? It is what it is. And, there's a limited amount of time. I know it's not rocket science, right? Terminally ill is up to a year to live. So, we don't have forever. So I'm blessed to be a part of the journey. And man, I'll tell you right now, it's people like Dondi that jump on the advisory council. We had a previous relationship when I did the Soldier's Angel Advisory Council, and I was blessed to work with 38 high value people, and Dondi was one of them. And now we're putting that team together to help Marshall and his cause. It's I'm old, but I'm not dead, so I'm going to keep at it.
Yeah, if
that's
you got
my
a
story.
winning team, bring it with you.
I'm telling you, man, we're coming with it. Look, and I have my cat. You see that?
Oh.
Look at that. This cat is the most amazing thing. Next to Marshall, this cat rocks.
I love the team mentality, because if you ever expect yourself to go anywhere in life, like ever, you can't do it alone. If you try to control every single little aspect of everything, you're not actually letting a team on. It takes a team to build something greater than you can ever achieve. So no, absolutely, that's awesome. I'm glad he brought you on, Kurt. And what I want to reiterate the fundraiser and all that stuff one more time, because it's that important for it to be re-mentioned. Please mention it again.
Sure, 100%. So Marshall is an amazing person that, as you can tell from this podcast, I want to get him in front of as a lot of people as possible. And we have an amazing opportunity. One of our co-chairmen, TK, runs an event every year called the Celebrity Softball Classic in Frisco, Texas. It's an all-day event. There's a veterans game in the morning, or gates open in the morning, veterans game, then celebrity softball game. Should be 10 to 15,000 people or more. And we are going to be there, myself and Marshall, and quite a few other people, including advisory council members, Dondi, and we're going to have an opportunity. Marshall's going to play in the veterans game before the celebrity softball game. We are going to bring 50 terminally ill people to the game so they can experience that as well. And we're just going to get the word out about what Marshal's mission is before he passes away, which is to help as many terminally ill people as possible, both before and after Marshal's time with us is over. And say that over and over and over and over and over. And not just me and Dondi, like 100 people. Because, you know, people can repeat some craziness online. This is just common sense. I mean, and we're not asking, I mean, our first fundraiser is only $10,000. That's just going to offset the cost to get there, you know, and everything that's involved in that. You know, we obviously need money to fund the, you know, the charity overall, but this first thing's coming up on November 4th. And, you know, we need our commitment yesterday. So go to dyingdefiantly.org, go donate, boom. And also, especially if anybody needs help, that website's open 24 hours a day. You click get help, myself and Marshall see it right away. You'll get a call the next day. 100%.
That's what's up, man. That's definitely answering a call to action right there.
I hope so.
Oh, yeah.
Dondi, we're not going to let you off the hook.
Well, thank you. And, you know, Chris, I just want to go back to something you said a minute ago. No one can do this alone. I was very, very grateful to be available right now to come on and talk with you all a bit, but I am just one of many who have listened to this story, heard the call, and, you know, we all need this kind of mission. And it was really the perfect time for me to re-engage. And I know that everybody on the advisory council and the other donators and supporters that we're putting together, they all feel the same way. And so we're all just trying to get laser focused. And if each one of us can just do a little bit, then amazing things are going to happen. And we're not going to get to that good level that we were talking about. We're going to get to great. And it's absolutely just a privilege to be here in any capacity to help something that is just obviously so needed and so absolutely noble. And so I'm really pleased to be a part of that.
It's pretty clear that it was one of the previous podcasts. It's like the winning and the losing mentality. And it just is very clear that there are no losers here. It's winners just gravitate to other winners. They take more winning attitude, more winning mindset just to go win. And I think that's really remarkable. This thing that with coming around with Mr. Marshall, you know, life is what it is too, but he turns it into something absolutely remarkable that so much can be benefited from so many. And it seems kind of cliche too, is the what happens when people die? It's just like, well, the people that love you miss you. And I heard, I think it was Keanu Reeves said that. And yeah, that's true, but that doesn't mean it's forgotten. And I think that's just one of the great things that's going to come about. And therein lies the legacy, is when it just continues as a matter of course. And I think that's absolutely remarkable. So I can't thank you guys enough. Mr. Marshall, what do you offer? What's a mindset clearly that you have for so many? What do you tell? What do you tell somebody to in this situation that you're in?
So there's 4 things I say that you have to do every day. Okay. I say you have to get up, right? So you get up, you got to dress up, you got to show up, and you got to never give up. Now, what that means is you got to get out of bed, right? Dress up means get out of your pajamas. Show up means get the heck out of the house. Don't sit on the couch and watch Netflix all day, right? A body in motion is a body alive, right? And then never give up. Well, that's pretty simple. That's self-explanatory, right? Don't look at anything as a negative. Like, I have so many people go, I'm having a scan, I'm getting anxiety. I'm like, man, there is no bad scan. There's just a scan, right? Every scan is just a roadmap. It's going to tell you that maybe they should have taken a right the last time when they took a left. Okay. It's just going to tell them which direction they need to go again. Right. So quit looking at scans as a negative. Look at scans as a positive. I don't care if you have a bad scan. Like, my latest scan was on Friday. And so my doctor reached out to me and said, hey, you want the good news or the bad news? I said, well, give me both, however way you want to present it. And Doc got on the phone. She says, all right, well, I'm going to give it to you like it is. Well, Marshall, your cancer has not progressed visibly again since July of last year. So in July of 22, I stopped all chemo. Stopped it. So that was done. I talked to them. I had just come out of the hospital from being septic. And I said, hey, is this going to save me in any way, shape, or form? They said, no, it's just maintenance. I said, look, I am a quality of life person, not a quantity of life person. It's all about how you live, not how long you live. And I said, if that's the way it's going to be, then we're done. I don't need this kind of living, right? So no more chemo. I will do the immunotherapy drug because it had just come out. That was Infinzi, Durvalab, whatever the real name of it is. But and they did so Cure Magazine did a big expose on it. And Infinzi wanted to take all the credit for why I was surviving the way I was surviving. So I'll give them their due diligence, obviously a little bit. But I've been doing a few other supplements along the way as well. Plus, it's a little bit of a mental attitude, right? I think that, my oncologist tells everybody, look, if you want to see the power of a positive mental attitude, go see what happens with Marshall, right? Go talk to Marshall. It is in my medical records. Everybody in the VA hospital in Indianapolis know who I am. Matter of fact, I went for that scan. The lady that was doing my scan was so excited. She's like, oh, I started saying like, oh, hey, I run a charity. She goes, oh my God, your cards are up everywhere. I know who you are. I haven't had the chance to scan you yet. I'm like so excited. I'm like, I feel like I'm the only one that doesn't know who you are personally. And I'm like, she goes, oh, we've been to your website. We've all given. I'm like, that's fantastic. I said, it's people like you that make this happen. And she's just like, she goes, no. God, you're so infectious, man. I've never seen somebody that smiles. Like when I went to radiation treatment, right? I would bring, because of course they're doing the radiation on my liver, I would bring my support onion. And they would be like, why are you bringing an onion? I'm like, liver and onions? If you're going to cook my liver, I might as well have onions with me, right? And so I'm like, can we get some butter smells in here too? Because it really would be much better, if you're cooking me that I smell butter and everything else. And they were like, how do you face it like that? I'm like, look, that's the only way to face it. Like my dad's having a hard time dealing with it, right? His son's going to die before him. And, I'll call my dad all the time and be like, hey, Dad, guess what? He'd be like, what? Like, I'm still dying, right? Just to mess with him, right? I'm like, I'm still dying, Dad. It's going to happen, right? So let's just put it past us, be done with it. And, I get there a little bit for you. It's okay. I'll make sure you get in, whatever favors I got to ask, I'll make sure you can get in up there somehow. Back door maybe, but we'll get you in, right? And he's like, well, what if you don't get in? I'm like, well, I got a pretty good skill set that I could probably run the sales office downstairs. So, I mean, either or, I'm doing well, right? And life is what you make it, man. And so don't take no for an inch. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't go out on your terms, right? I tell people you can't. Just live. You're going to live every day until you die. You're not going to die a little bit every day. Okay. You're going to stop doing that. And if you do that, if you keep a strong mental attitude, you keep your body in motion. And they're like, well, I'm bedbound. I'm like, okay, can you put bands at the end of your bed? Yeah. Okay. Then put bands. A body in motion is a body alive. And I said, and have a strong faith. I don't care if you believe in the Easter Bunny or Santa Claus. Just believe in something bigger than you, right? Because all of it ends up in the same place at some point. We're all going to come to the Creator at some point, and we're going to ask Him to be there for us, support us, save us, whatever it is. So be a blessing to somebody else, even if you're sick. I don't care how bad that is. You can be a blessing by telling somebody you have a beautiful smile. You can tell somebody, Kurt, I love your hair, right? That looks amazing, right? I tell Kurt he has wonderful hair every day. And, and so to me, exactly, right? That's what it's about. And this is, I don't care how sick you are, how bad things are, whatever your addiction is, you can combat it by just changing a little bit of your focus every day, just a little tiny bit, just a little bit at a time, right? Because it's the same thing. Chris, you talk about the Navy, right? What happens if you take it and turn the ship 1 degree every hour? right? You're going to change your degree, how far you're going to go off course, just a little bit, even if it's 1 degree a day, right? In 30 days, you're 30 degrees off course, right? So, and then I tell people this, look, man, not all of us are running at the same speed. Imagine this. I'm walking on this journey at 5 miles an hour, but some of my people are walking at 2 miles an hour. So what happens if I don't slow down to their speed? I walk away from that person in 1 hour. I'm 3 miles apart. So I have to tell people all the time, slow down to their speed, mirror their speed. Okay. Not your speed. Don't expect them to run up to you. Because some people think I'm like some kind of superhero, and I ain't. I'm just a guy with cancer, right? That's all I am. I'm nothing special. I'm just a veteran, a friend, a father, and somebody here that's help lift them back up. So that's all I am. Just a guy with cancer. Slow down, take in the special moments, make sure that you're reminding people how special they really are, and that who they were before they got sick, right? Because, man, before you got sick, you were something special. Don't stop being something special. Always be something special. From this point to the point that I die, from the moment that you guys have met me, this has been my mission. It will be my mission to my last breath. I will probably have them video me on my way out, right? So I can do one last, message to everybody. Like, look, with my dying breath, I'm just going to say, right, and go, right? Just give, because that's all it is give of your heart, right? It's all we want. Like, I don't want anybody to do anything they don't want to do. Just, man, if your loved one needed the help, would you wait to give, or would you do it right away, right? Or would you hope somebody would help them right away? Like, I see people sit in emergency rooms, and it's crazy, right? So many of us we want to wait to do it. One of my favorite movies is Pay It Forward, right? Don't expect something in return. Just pay it forward. Tell that person to pay it forward. Keep paying the blessings forward to everybody you can. And I promise you, if you do that, you will live a greater life. You will live a better life. You will live a more blessed life, and you will live the best life lived is dying defiantly, right? So that's it.
Man, your perpetual optimism is absolutely intoxicating. And I think that there's so much to just be learned. With all that, we got to get to Chris's most favorite part of the show here, save rounds and alibis. Man, Chris, man, do your thing.
All right, man, save rounds and alibis. Is there anything else before we get into the final round? All right, let's go. Hey, man, I would ask you what's your mindset question, but I really feel that you probably hit that thing, and then you hit the dead horse, and then it bounced off, and it kept going. So you did really good there, man. So I'm not going to ask you about the getting into the mindset of transitioning, because you just nailed it, bro. So one thing I want to ask is, what kind of content, whether it be a book, a movie, podcast, whatever, play out in the public, I don't know, what kind of content do you recommend our listeners that listen to Mil2Vet consume while they're transitioning?
I am, and I have always been, a big believer in Tony Robbins, right? From the very beginning. Tony Robbins, I loved what he talked about. I loved the power of changing mindset, right? Neuro-linguistic programming, to take that negative BS belief system, right? That negative BS, and put it out of our lives and replace it with positive BS, right? Positive belief systems. We all have BS in our lives, so we might as well make it as positive as we possibly can, right? And so when you do that, I tell people, look, man, Tony Robbins at the younger age, when he was building himself, right? That's just classic. To watch what he's developed into, to see this man who's now destroyed his vocal cords, but in some kind of grace of God, they have reattached to his lower vocal cords. It's the only way he can still talk. He's an actual medical miracle. And what he does. Last year, I got a chance to go to Tony Robbins UPW because of Kurt Jensen and do the fire walk and show people that, man, no matter how sick you are, no matter what, I had 104.1 temperature. I'm not going to the hospital. I'm doing the fire walk. I'm going to just power through this weekend. And I'm like, it was one of the most moving, most life changing opportunities to be a part of, because when you're with 18,000 people hearing them chanting and the energy in the room is everybody going through it, those are what this is all about. That's what this organization's about. It's about bringing that community together. It's about lifting people up and making them realize that, man, no, nothing can stop you, that you and you alone are the only person that stands in your way. Nobody else, right? Nobody else. Not that the illness, nothing. You're the one that says, I can't get up this morning. And why? Because you believe that shit, right? You believe you can't get up. Power through it. Get yourself out of the bed. I didn't tell you had to go outside for hours. Go out, maybe walk for 15, 20 minutes, right? Keep yourself moving. I promise you, you will feel better, you'll live longer, and you'll have a better mindset through it all. See, I lost Chris.
I would nah, he'll find himself. He probably got up, heed a little of that advice. It's just going to be 15 minutes. Not
that's just crazy that he would just leave like that. I mean, he's the host of the show, right? I'm just trying to figure things out here. There he goes. Oh, there we go.
There got a Superman cape. He's back in a jiffy.
Yeah, man, I had to go
exactly.
I heard a cry for help.
Oh man. So going all the way back to when you joined up, what would you tell the young person then as he's walking in? What would you tell yourself to buckle up? You're going to be transitioning someday. And what do you tell yourself then to prepare for that day?
Look, and I know this is cliche. Take advantage of everything that you can take advantage while you're in the service. Meaning this, I clept my whole first college year while I was in the service, right? All paid for by them, right? Take advantage of what the military will do for you while you're in, right? Hey, I get it. I saw a lot of different combat situations in schools, but I also saw the availability to go to school for free while I was in, right? To get some training while I was in, to start prepping for that transition. And there was a part of me that said, I'm going to go out, finish my degree, and come back as an officer, because I realized, shit, the path of the enlisted is not always the best way, right? I mean, it's okay, right? But it's not always the best, right? Sometimes the officers seem to have a little bit better. And, and then when I realized, when I was over in the Gulf and I watched the Air Force in these air-conditioned Quonset huts, I was like, shit, I joined the wrong service. I was like, dang, I should have thought about the Air Force. But, I thought I wanted to be Rambo. So, but that's what I'd say. I'd say take advantage of everything that's available to you. And if you don't know what's available to you, when you get to post, start looking into it, right? There's a lot of programs that are there. Just get involved into those programs. Don't just put yourself in the barracks. Don't just, hang out with your buddies at the, at the clubs, right? Because that's easy to do too, right? You start losing yourself down that path. But take advantage of what you get while you can. I mean, that's the one thing I would say do more of. I wish I had done a little bit more while I was in, but I had almost I got an associate's degree when I was in, so I was pretty happy about that.
Man, I love the whole entire clipping and using your resources and telling people to take advantage of the stuff that they have. It's not just stuff, it is benefits that you get for your service. Take advantage of them. When you
Sure.
What did it take for you to find your purpose?
First time I found my porpoise, I was standing on the edge of the ocean, and she swam by, and I knew it wasn't a dolphin. And just kidding. But no,
Oh, I was
really,
like, yes, I love it. He's going.
Dondi's over there. She just buried her face in her hands.
Yeah, if
it's all right.
nobody else,
I just having a little fun there for a moment. But no, I tell you, man, I thought I was a decent Christian in 2016. I rebaptized, and I thought I was being a good Christian. And I've always been kind of a giver and done things that I thought were decent. Man, I tell you what, in an instant, I knew when I was standing there in Newport, Rhode Island, looking up at the breakers at the Vanderbilt summer home. That's when I knew in an instant what my purpose was, because I said something stupid. I said, if I had the Vanderbilt money, I could change the world. And God's flipped me really in a second. It was like a slap across the face. It's like, you don't need their money. You'll change the world one person at a time. And he said this to me. He goes, Marshall, it's not the number of seeds in an apple. It's the number of apples from one seed. And you will be that seed. That I believe that we talk so much about return on investment, right? ROI. What's your ROI on this event? Well, I look at that as ripples of impact. How far will my ripples go out beyond me? And so when you drop that stone in the water, the ripples usually get smaller and smaller as they dissipate further out. What if you can flip that script and it becomes a tsunami, right? The waves get bigger and bigger as it goes out, and that your message becomes not just, here in the United States, but it's a global message. And I've seen that happen so far. We've helped people in Turkey, India, Switzerland, Germany, UK, Zimbabwe, Ethiopia, all because of social media. And I will never turn a person away. And so I've had to find some, translators, but we help. And I will never turn somebody away because of a language gap. Surely I don't care about monetary value, right? I mean, none of that matters to me, right? I can't take any of it with me, right? So I will, I know my kids are set, right? I made sure that there's a plan that my grandchildren will be taken care of after I'm gone, right? And I tell people, like, look, man, plan for the future. I've lost friends that died instantly. They never got the chance to say goodbye. They died of a heart attack at work, and they never got a chance to go home and see their kids again. I get that opportunity. I get to spend time with my friends, my family. I get to spend time with individuals. And the greatest gift that I can give anybody right now is time, because I don't know how much time I have left. So when you're giving people time and I'm sitting there talking and I'm telling them something, I look at them and I remind them, brother, this is the greatest gift we have for one another, is giving each other time. So, man, I hope that answers the question.
No, that's absolutely stunning answer. Absolutely. The whole thing's remarkable. Final thing here, final round. For people that want to get hold, how do you get reached? How to get hold of you?
It's really easy, guys. Go to www.dyingdefiantly.org, right? And just go to the get help page, right? Just get help, fill out what you need, or call me direct. Private message me. I don't care, however you want to get in touch with me. I will never, ever stop. So my number, 765-273-0070. You can call me direct. I will pick up the phone. I will talk to you. Like, people are like, you answer the phone for the charity? I'm like, of course. Because that's exactly what a leader does. You're the person that's going to answer that phone. I'm not going to hide from anybody because I have nothing to hide from, right? I'm here for you. I'm right there with you on your journey. If you think that you're not worthy of this, everybody is worthy of time. Everybody is worthy of my time. And that gift, if I can give that to them, I will.
that was great, man. Thank you so much. Thank you, Kurt. Thank you, Marshall, and thank you, Dondi, for coming on here and sharing your most valuable resource, your time. I really do appreciate you guys coming on here. you guys are just motivational. Every single one of you, talking to you guys before the show, like, I really feel connected with you guys. And I'm so blessed to have this space where I get to interact with you guys. So thank you so much for coming on to the show.
Thank you for having me. I mean, it's a blessing. It's people like you. Hey, one of the things I didn't get a chance to even talk about with you guys, you know who Paul Tuttle Sr. is, right? From Orange County Choppers. We've got a custom chopper being built, $125,000 custom chopper being built for the charity right now that will be raffled off through American Legion International. I mean, this thing is, picture the Archangel Michael, an armored angel, and turned into a motorcycle with the swords as the forks and flaming pipes and armored wings that wrap around you. And you're on this bike, and whatever your cancer color is, whatever your illness color is, that bike will glow when you sit on it. So if you have breast cancer, it'll glow pink. If it's pancreatic cancer, it'll glow purple. If it's my cancer, it'll glow like a lime green. So it is something that we hope will bring over $500,000 to the organization. And, you know, we're doing a huge cash alternative. If they don't want the motorcycle, we're doing a 175 cash alternative. The bike's supposed to have been ready in July of next year. I talked to Paul the other day, and he was trying to keep it secret from me, but he's going to have it ready in December. And so we are just excited. You know, he believes in our organization. He believes in what we're doing. Him and oh my gosh, I just blanked. West Coast Choppers. Jesse James is doing a new show with him right now. They're doing the OGs, the old guys. And so Paul's 74. You know, of course, Jesse's up there a little bit too. And these guys are really getting to present this brand new show to everybody. And the bike's going to be shown on the show, right? So it's going to be one of the shows when they present the motorcycle. So it'll be awesome.
That's dope, man. Hey, for everybody that's listening, Mil2Vet tribe, you got a really tremendous story of somebody that could have just crumpled underneath the pressure of knowing that he's terminally ill. But here we are, years past what he was told that he was going to expire. And he created this diamond, Dying Defiantly. It's got the heart of so many people out there. Man, it's just amazing to be in the same room. I hope you guys follow Dying Defiantly. Go to their website, www.dyingdefiantly.org, and help them out. Share their story. If anything, share their story. All right, family. It's not all rainbows and unicorns out there. It's your transition. Take charge of it. Return to Roots, Mil2Vet, out.